On November 12, 2006, Dave and Davy Hadenberg from Hadenberg Apiaries began the monthly beehive inspection. They had expected to find the 400 hives in good shape. This wasn't the case. The beekeepers discovered that the hives were totally empty. 20 million honeybees had vanished in thin air. In their 20 years of beekeeping, they had never seen anything like this. Before long, beekeepers all around the country began seeing unusually empty beehives. This sudden decrease of bees, called colony collapse disorder, or CCD, became a very real and scary bee catastrophe. America's food supply depends on bees to pollinate crops such as almonds, apples, and pumpkins. If bees continued to die, the food supply was at risk. Four scientists, Dennis Van Algerdorp, Jeffrey S. Pettis, Diana Cox Foster, and Marian Fraser, decided to join forces to investigate this colony collapse disorder. Each scientist played an important role in the investigation process. Dennis specialized in field sampling and analyzing autopsies of bees. Jeffrey was an expert in studying bee samples for well-known pests. Diana specialized in analyzing bee samples for bacterial and viral infections. Marian was an expert in examining pesticides in bees. By collecting and analyzing bee samples, this team helped identify the cause of colony collapse disorder, began the conversation to improve bee health, and raised awareness on the importance of bees in growing food. The CCD group began the investigation by collecting bee samples from both healthy and infected beehives. They also collected pollen, wax, and brood from all hives. These samples could be used to discover the cause of colony collapse disorder. The bees and samples were taken to Dennis's laboratory. Dennis dissected both infected and healthy bees and searched for signs of a disease and distress. He found that the organs of infected bees were swollen and discolored, unlike healthy bees. Dennis also found that CCD bees were infected with many different types of infections. This provided the team of scientists with an important clue. The culprit of CCD was making honeybees so sick that they couldn't fight off everyday infections. Meanwhile, Jeff Pettis, expert in bee infections, set out to explore the theory that bee pests were causing the CCD. He decided to test three common killers, Varroa, Nosema, and Trachomites. These animals are parasites that lay their eggs in the bees, similar to the way that ticks attack humans. To test Varroa mites, Jeff used a method called shake and count to determine how many mites were in his bees. The team found that these mites do not cause CCD. Jeff then dissected trichomoniasis, which feeds on the inside of bees' breathing tubes. He dissected both infected and healthy bees and sliced the breathing tubes in thin discs. Jeff then analyzed these discs under the microscope. The results were disappointing. Trichomoniasis did not influence CCD. Finally, Jeff dissected the healthy and sick bee guts in search of Nosema infections. The results, like the Varroa and Trachomites, found no connection. While Jeff was searching for possible known bee pests, another scientist on the team, Diana, was working to determine what viruses were found only in CCD honeybees. Like with humans, viruses can spread quickly through our bee colony. Diana suspected that because CCD had spread so quickly and was fatal, an infectious and powerful virus had infected the beehives. To test her theory, Diana organized a group of scientists to comb through honeybee samples in search of a new virus. The test didn't reveal a new virus. However, they did discover a common virus found in nearly every CCD sample. The virus was the Israeli acute paralysis virus, or IAPV, that was found only in CCD bees. It provided a major breakthrough in the cause of CCD. However, Diana needed concrete evidence before dubbing IAPV the cause of colony collapse disorder. Diana needed to expose a healthy hive to IAPV and show that the bees had developed CCD because of the virus. To do this, Diana and her colleagues decided to conduct the experiment indoors in a bee yard. This was to make sure that the testing bees could stay healthy before they were introduced to IAPV. While conducting this experiment, Diana found IAPV in honeybee samples from 2002, 4 years before the colony collapse disorder catastrophe began. This led her to believe that the IAPV was one of the many events that caused colony collapse disorder. According to the CCD working team, over the past decade, bee nutrition has changed for the worse. Many bees would go weeks and weeks of eating the same type of pollen, which could make them more prone to infections. The group also reported that chemicals used on farms and beehives, such as pesticides and herbicides, had been on the rise. They wondered if this could weaken honeybees, making them also more prone to disease. To tackle this question of potentially harmful pesticides, Marion began by sampling beehives to see what chemicals were used on them. She discovered that of the 208 pollen samples, only 3 were completely chemical-free. Even more shocking, on average, each sample contained 5 different pesticides. Many chemicals that beekeepers applied were finding their way into pollen storages in the hive. After conducting this research, the forest scientists believe that many elements, including poor nutrition, pesticides, and IPV, have led to the colony collapse disorder. Now, they hope to design an experiment to examine all these factors at the same time. Perhaps this will help the scientists identify the combination that causes CCD. Even if the cause is never found, Jeff says that this collapse has led to the awareness on how important bees are to this environment. He says, I bet you that the vast majority of the public prior to CCD would not have been able to say that pollination is vital to growing food, but now they can. Now the public knows about bees.